Hello, Jillian, Mawish, Mildred, Elizabeth, Atasha, Gina, Nicole, Mary, Tony, Brandy, Nancy, Chloe, Elizabeth, Heather, Lauren, and Nicole. We are now 2/3 of the way through ethical leadership. Thank you all again for your excellent contributions. Great discussion forums this week. And again, I just want to make a few comments and observations. So, discussion forum 1, ethical dilemma, is it a conflict of interest? I think we all agree that there's a conflict of interest in this situation with Sue and John, that it is a conflict of interest for Sue to share this information. On the one hand, she has a duty of loyalty to her company. A lot of you pointed that out. Heather, Brandy, Gina, Nicole, I think almost all of you mentioned loyalty, and that Sue has a fiduciary responsibility to not share confidential information with people outside the company. That's clear. And the conflict is that she has that obligation to her company, and she also feels like she should be helping her new boyfriend, that he wants to start a business and she has knowledge that could help him. And why wouldn't she want to help someone that she loves? I think many of you also point out that just by coming to you, I think Nicole said, just by coming to you, it says that she's maybe feeling a little bit uneasy about this, or at least she's open to the idea that what she's doing might be wrong. And I think that's a great point, that let's assume that Sue is open to correction. I think that's a really helpful attitude, to not assume that, oh well, here she's got her mindset and she just wants someone to help her justify her unethical action, but that she really is genuinely looking for feedback and open to the idea that there's a different point of view, and she wants to hear that. The other thing that's I think important in this situation is, what do we do before she shares any information? If we have this conversation with Sue and Sue says, you know what, you're right, I really shouldn't share any of this information with John, I'm not going to. Is it still right to report her to HR or to your superiors? And I think that's a tough question. Heather kind of pointed out, well, this is a tough thing. Do you report her, or do you give her the chance to do the right thing? Do you give her the chance to not? And then how would you know whether she had done the right thing or whether she had actually shared the information? I suppose you could give IT a heads up that they should keep an eye on people and make sure that people, keep an eye on who's accessing information that's confidential. I suppose you could do that. Or if the information is not going to be extremely harmful to the company, maybe you just give Sue the benefit of the doubt and the chance to continue to do the right thing. And you ask her in a couple of weeks, how are things going? Is John still pressuring you? How's that relationship going? Did you share any of that information? Lauren and Nicole said, if she ignores your advice and she goes ahead and shares the information, then you do have an obligation to blow the whistle. All right, case 2, forum 2, Kevin and the copier. What I really appreciated about this discussion forum this time around with all of you is that you were willing to give Kevin a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. There were, in past iterations of this class, some people really wanted to drop the hammer on Kevin immediately and say, your behavior is unacceptable, you're warned, or even you're fired for going against the owner's wishes. But I think if we read the case carefully, Kevin kind of deserves at least one more chance, because the case says that you, as the owner, said that Kevin should limit these activities, limit the ability of people to use the copier and the phone. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean that he should limit that? It's unclear. It's unclear. There's no clear policy. There's no clear directive. There's obviously nothing written down that would give him instructions on what to do. And perhaps that's the biggest problem here, is the lack of clarity in this small business environment. And it really is important to have clear instructions, clear rules, clear guidelines, no matter what size the business is. In the last week, when we were talking about, is there a difference in code of ethics between large organizations and small, we noted that yes, there are some differences, but that the importance of having a code is there no matter what size your organization is. And this case is a demonstration of that. You really need guidelines and policies to be clear in order for employees to be able to do their jobs well and do them ethically. So Kevin is doing his thing, and I think the thing here is to assume that Kevin is doing the best that he can. Perhaps some of you are familiar with the author Brene Brown, social worker, shame researcher. She has her latest book is Dare to Lead. Really excellent book. It's very applicable to this class. One of the things that she says is there are two kinds of people in the world. There are people who assume that everybody is doing the best that they can, and then there are people who assume that no, everybody is not doing the best that they can. And there's really no way to prove that either way. But one thing that's fairly clear is that if you assume that people are doing the best that they can, you're going to be better off, that you'll actually be happier if you assume that people are doing the best that they can. That doesn't mean that everybody always is. It's not being Pollyanna-ish, but it's saying, for example, in this case, that Kevin is not being insubordinate. He's not deliberately going against you, the owner, to share these things. And that he genuinely feels like this is really not a big deal. It doesn't cost us much money, and it builds up such goodwill in the community. Why shouldn't we be doing it? So a conversation with Kevin would probably help. Assuming that he has good reasons and is doing the best that he can, come to him and have a conversation. Perhaps you as the owner are persuaded that, yeah, this probably only costs us a few $100 a year. It really does build up a lot of goodwill in the community. And as long as we have policies in place to protect the confidentiality of our clients and make sure that there's no confidential information on the copier or around the phones, then fine. We'll spend a couple extra $100 a year to have goodwill in the community for people that give us references and promote our good reputation. Or it may well be that you have the conversation with Kevin and it's more money than he thought. He didn't realize how much money it was costing to do these things. And gee, he's sorry, and he'll stop doing it. What a lot of you pointed out too is Kevin's probably going to need some training and some skills so that he could say no to people in a polite, effective way. That since people are used to coming in and doing this, he's probably going to need a little bit of help to be able to say no to them in a way that's firm but not mean. So Elizabeth pointed out that maybe the idea here is for both the owner and Kevin, really the whole office, to have some ethics training. Several others of you pointed that out too, that if we're going to do the ethics training, then it should be for everybody. And I think that that's true. I think that that's absolutely true, that it's not just, okay, here's this one person that really needs extra help, but let's all do it so that everybody in the business is on the same page, and that's going to be a lot more effective than just sending Kevin off to a class. So again, thank you all very much for your excellent contributions. I hope that you all have a great Thanksgiving holiday, and I look forward to finishing up the course in December. If you have any questions or I could be helpful in any way, please let me know. Thanks.